Let's be real. You can look at some things in a way that you'd be like, hmm, okay. I got people get mad at me because they say, oh, man, that was some sexual content, that you shared on your page. And I'm like, oh. But they sit up and watch movies, listen to music with all that type of stuff. But then they hold me to a standard and say, you can't be my friend because you shared something. And I get it. People have their things that I guess hit sore spots or whatever. Maybe they used to battle with lust or whatever, or even worked in the sex field or whatever. But it's like, man, you have to walk on eggshells so much when dealing with people. Something you may say could easily offend them and not mean to offend them. I remember a time that I was dealing with a matter and was talking about how some of these young ladies dress immodest. And I guess biblically nowadays, when I look at it differently, Sarah probably didn't dress what we would consider modest because people were able to see her from a distance and see her beauty, and she was up in her 90s, dang near. But I'm not really that interested in people that show all of their skin and stuff like that. Even though I'm married or whatever and stuff, that's not that attractive to me. I like to, I guess, see it covered or whatever. But some people get very offended by it. But you look at most of the music, most of the videos, most of the stuff out there now, and you see nakedness. And as a father, I don't want to see my daughter like that. I don't want her advertising herself like that because those that like that type of stuff will try to entertain that with them. So I'm like, cover yourself up. And when I see people uncovered or whatever, a lot of times I'm like, ooh. And people get upset that it's like, oh, you're judgmental of it. I'm like, cleavage, all this stuff like that. That's a comfortable thing. You see a lot of people that's walking in holiness that show cleavage. I'm not judging them, not saying that they're not holy, but I don't want to see that. I don't want to see another man's wife. I don't want to have the desire or temptation to even covet that. But of course, I don't get to rule that those people's homes. If their husband is okay with it, so be it. But me talking about that could offend somebody. You know, it could piss them off or whatever and have them like, because there's something that they're doing actively. And, me saying something is like, oh, he talking about me. You know, I don't know. I'm one that has some rain in my house, I guess. And I see a lot of men compromising on their stance when their wife's feelings come into play. And so I talk about that. And so me knowing a lot of men that do that, oh, he's talking about me. And sometimes, if they be honest, I've talked directly to them. But when they see posts like that, it really bothers them because they know their house is not in order. So, of course, their wife might see it or whatever. And, they want to make sure that they don't get in trouble because I'm messy, I guess. When I've told them directly to their face that they need to handle that, whatever. But of course, I'm like, it's your home. You do what you want to do. I'm like, but, you complaining about how controlling she is, but yet you're not stopping it. You're the head. Stop it. Let her know that's gonna stop. But I'm like, they come to you for counsel or whatever, and you give them advice or whatever, or you just listen. But again, they have to change that, not you. You know, I'm like, I'm amazed that I've been around some folks that cuss, I guess, but they put it out there almost as if that they don't do stuff like that, and I be like laughing and stuff like that because they do it more than me, and yet they put it out there like they don't do nothing like that. There's so many people out here that are putting this persona out like they do nothing. But if people just were to be around them just a little bit, they'd be exposed to so much. It's like, wow. You know, I'm like, I'm not their judge. I'll tell them about some of the stuff, but some of the most lionest people I've dealt with are people that's supposed to be holy. And I guess they don't see it as lying. They lie about little things. I'll get to that. I'll do this. They be lying so much. They do a lot of small talking, and it be nonsense talk because they don't mean none of the stuff that they're saying, and you know it because you deal with them. I'm like they like politicians kissing babies and stuff like that. Folks, you can deal with somebody that how your children and stuff, and they don't like children, and you know it. They don't even like their own children. You be around people enough, they flaws or show up. So I get a lot of folks that I've dealt with in the past don't want me around because they know I'm getting to see them. Get to see how they really operate, what's really going on. And then if I hold them accountable, they really don't want me around then. Almost all these people that have issues with me, I'll be like, okay, well, show me my sin. And it's like, I know I'm not perfect. I've exposed myself many times, on my daily posts almost on Facebook. I tell people, my errors of issue, areas of issue and my errors. And, I know I'm not perfect. But then, it's like some of the stuff that I told them when they see it for themselves or whatever. Now, I can't be. I'm like, I'm not perfect. I get angry. I do. But I don't do nothing with it. I'm the biggest dude in the room most of the time. And so I can't do nothing with it because now I'm the bully. When people lie, when people respect another person over me, that stuff bothers me. And I let people know it. I've even shared with people my insecurities and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm just sharing it and I'm not going to do nothing with it. I'm going to keep moving. And people be looking at me strange, like, oh, and I'm like, you ain't got to walk on eggshells with me. Do what you do. My belief is dealing with love languages and stuff. When I see something that can benefit you, that's easy for me to do, I do it. If I see you have a need somewhere and I can fulfill it, I fulfill it. People could see my need and just be like, and it'd be something that, they could probably do, but they choose not to. Like, not my responsibility. You better go to his wife. And I'm like, I see how people move. And I'm like, wow. And I still choose to love them anyway. That's my choice. But, if I was to do them the same way that they did me, I'd be out the door quick. But see, that's the thing. People will try to use me up. And I'm like, you really ain't using me. I'm doing what I believe is my calling to do. And when it's, time for me to stop, I'll stop. But the thing is, I get to see you. The selfishness, all that stuff, everything is about you. People will say that, Shankwilla, you act like the world revolves around you. And I'm like, Ashley, you really putting on me what's really on you. Because I have to go out of my way to deal with you. You don't break a sweat dealing with me. All right, Ahava.